truly really retires. But kudos to him. He's had a great career. It's been fun to watch. Don't necessarily know him all that well personally, but have seen his work and seen what he's done not only for his program but also in the state of Iowa. So kudos to him. A couple things about us. We are special teams wise. This year, we just finished week 10 of the season, and there's been some really good things and some things that not so good. Some inconsistencies, some things that we're continuing to work on. Again, some highs, some lows, some things that we need to continue to teach upon. But overall, happy with the guys. I think the guys are working hard, trying hard. It isn't a lack of effort or anything like that. It's more just consistency, and those are things we're focused on improving on. That being said, any questions you guys have, happy to answer.
Start with John.
John, stuff you think he's had.
John?
So first of all, I think you go, was it 8 years without giving up a punt return touchdown, and now you've given up 2. Kind of, what do you attribute those to, and kind of what gives you optimism that can stay at 2 and not be any more than that?
Yeah, definitely. First off, history would suggest that less than or not going more than 2. That's one thing. But it's definitely disappointing, discouraging at some points. And I've got a lot of pride. I've been around this program a long time. I wasn't quite sure when it had happened or when the last time was, but I knew it had been a long time since I'd seen it. But I attribute it to a couple things. One, inconsistency with punt location, and then 2 is inconsistency in the coverage. And those are things that we need to improve upon and teach upon and continue to learn from. I think the guys are doing that and not letting our guard down. I think we've done that. So again, those are things that we just got to continue to coach and continue to preach and work on. But definitely not fun at all.
Chad.
Hey, Chad, nice to come. Des Moines
Hello,
Register.
Chad.
Yeah,
Great to see
nice
you.
to meet you. You've had, it seems like, anyway, for sure Ohio State was a situation where you had a fake punt call and Kirk called timeout. Can you explain kind of the process? Are you like in his ear? Does he see that? And also, can you speak to what happened the other day? Because you guys burned an early second half timeout on a punt that you really could have used later. I'm just curious what happened there.
Yeah, which you talking about both or?
Well, let's start with the UCLA game.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened there on that punt, and then rewind to the Ohio State game. Are you telling him, hey, we don't want to run it, or is that his call? That type of thing?
First off, I don't tell Coach Ferentz
Okay.
anything. Other than I make suggestions. I know where I'm at on the pecking order. So it's obviously ultimately his call, his decision. But we talking about Saturday. It's really nothing more than just trying to make sure we see things that we see. I also think Coach was trying to talk to the official about something that happened on that play previous. So it had nothing to do with a fake or anything like that. You'd be trying to give away my trade secrets there, Chad, and I don't want to do that in front of a microphone. But you go back to Ohio State. There's definitely certain situations where you like things better than others and like looks better than others and whatnot. But ultimately, it's Coach's decision. I make suggestions when hey, we like this play or don't like this play, and just keep playing and keep moving forward. But I do like the result that we called a timeout, and because the punt wasn't great, but the second, the redo on the punt was a lot better and fair catch and all that stuff. So it's a good ball by Reese, good snap by Luke, and good protection and coverage.
Right.
Scott Dockran with The Athletic. Hope you're doing well.
Hey Scott, great to see you.
Great to see you too. I wanted to ask a recruiting question because you're a prolific recruiter, go all over the place. This year is completely different with the early signing period, no off-campus recruiting, which I'm sure frees up your December like you never had before. What kind of adjustment is this for you, both at this very time, this very week, and then how you're going to approach December and evaluating future potential players?
It's funny you bring that up because literally I just came out of a staff meeting about 15 minutes ago where that was brought up, and I didn't realize that you can't go out at all in December. I thought it was the window was just shorter. But what it's going to do, I think, will allow us to be more with our team here. Not as soon as the season ends, as soon as the last game, you take a day off and you go out on the road. You don't see your own team for 2 weeks. So I think that'll help us in that regard, be around our guys that are here currently. I think the transfer portal window's changing a little bit. So it allows us to be with our team and coach our guys, which is ultimately what we're trying to do, right? Is make the best team possible and be here for the players that are here. Now recruiting, you're always going out trying to find the next person to add to the class or add to the group. But I always feel like when you go out this time of year, you're leaving something back at home with the guys that you bled with all year, that you worked with all year. So I think it'll be nice to actually be with those guys and continue to help them through bowl prep and through bowl practice, things like that. I know I won't be taking a trip to Australia this December.
David Eichel, HawkeyeInsider.com. Lavar, appreciate the time. Reese has had a up and down years, had some tremendous games, had some punts I'm sure he and you would like back, but going back to Tory Taylor's freshman year, he kind of rode the same boat, both being from Australia. Is there anything that you learned while coaching Tory through his first year, whether it be about culture, whether it be about football, that you've kind of applied to teaching Reese, or are they two totally different situations? Because again, one's 24 and one's a 19-year-old kid. And I guess how have you kind of helped him ride the highs and lows of just adjusting to America and the way you guys do things around here?
Yeah, I think the easy thing is to compare the two, right? Compare the two, but I think really the comparison stops where they're both from Australia. They both punt footballs. Both of them come here at different stages in their maturation, physical and emotional maturation, also age, right? Both of them come here. The comparison that you could make is neither one of them really knows the sport of football, college football. But I do feel like both guys are coming in different times and stages of their life. I do feel like each and every game, Reese gets better and understands the game of football better, understands the significance of his role and what he does each and every game. And I think that's something to build upon. I think that's going to be a strength for him as he gets older. Like right now, that's not a strength for him. His first game he ever saw was the one he played in. Think about that. Right? The first game he ever saw, he was in, and he was the punter, at Iowa. So that's a big deal. And but I do feel like each game he's gotten better. You referenced some highs, for Reese. What was the game? I think it was in Northwestern, where he went out and had 4 punts inside the 6. Like, man, I love Tory Taylor. Tory Taylor's fantastic. I don't remember seeing Tory do that 4 times. And I think we all see what he's done since he was here and then now off of the Bears, and which he is punting more than he was told he was going to punt, which is interesting to see. However, back on task, I think the sky's the limit for Reese. I think he's a young guy figuring it out. I think each and every game he gets better. Each and every day he gets better. You just need to focus on consistency.
Hey Lavar, LA Club Hawkeye Beacon. Mentioning consistency a few times with Reese and talking about the highs and the lows and stuff like that, like David just mentioned. I guess how do you curb that and make it a little bit more consistent, or is that just something that grows with maturity and reps and just kind of something you have to be patient with?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. You do have to have patience, right? You do have to have growth and maturity. You also have to have consistency in your fundamentals. And the sport of football, regardless of position, it really comes down to fundamentals. You've probably heard that 1,000 times here. It sounds cliche, but it's not. It's the truth. And you look at any great punter, any great specialist in the pro level right now, which we do often, right? We'll study guys, we'll watch them, we'll see, what do you see? Like, oh, he's got a great leg. Oh, this is a great kick. Well, how did that happen? You look at the consistency of the fundamentals. Like, okay, his footwork is correct, his hands are correct, right? How he drops the ball is consistent over time. And if you do that enough times, you'll like the results. I think Reese is seeing that right now, and not only Reese, but all the guys in our room are seeing that right now, where the consistency of the fundamentals either pays off or there's detriment to it. And so that's what we're focused on right now.
Ethan featured Quad City Times. Not to ask you a third straight question about Reese, but through 8 games, Tory Taylor, as a freshman, earned all Big Ten first team honors from coaches and media. Through 8 games, Reese had better stats than Tory in that season. What's the growth trajectory for a guy like Reese who's already having that level of success, and how do you make sure a guy doesn't get high on their own supply?
Yeah, is that wow? Did not expect that. But is that an actual stat?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Through 8 games, he was.
Through 8 games.
I don't know what it's at now.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think for Reese, he's a grinder. The kid's a workhorse. He's gonna keep going. And I'd be shocked, and frankly, I'd be disappointed if he didn't continue to work hard. I think there's a lot more that he can improve on, a lot more he can work on. But I think he just continues. We just continue to keep him humble and continue to keep him working. I think you go back to the last game at UCLA, he'd be the first to tell you that it wasn't his best game. And one of the goals we set out each game or each week is to play our best football, right? Knowing that last week was last week, doesn't matter. The next game, you don't even know if you're going to play in the next game. We're focused on right now. So how can we play our best football? And I didn't coach my best. I think we've had players that say they didn't play their best at UCLA. So the focus is the next opportunity. So can we play our best against Maryland? That's what the focus is going to be. Before that, tomorrow is our next practice, right? The next practice following UCLA. So I'm expecting guys that are hungry, guys that want to go out and try to be better, and that's what we're focused on is improvement. And can we be better than we were yesterday? And then you stack enough of those on top of each other, then at the end of the year you like the result, or you don't. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report.
Tom, great to meet you.
Hey, good to see you too. Kickoff question for you. The NFL has changed how they handle kickoffs and how they do kickoffs, cover them. Would you like to see that adopted to the college game?
Frankly, I don't know enough about it. I went into the whole thing thinking that, that's just going to come to college next year. And now I watch NFL games and I'm like, it looks just like it did before, except, people are kicking touchbacks. Where I was told they weren't going to be kicking touchbacks, they're going to be tackling guys inside the 20. Okay, your kicker's going to have to be an athlete. I'm not seeing any of that. So what happens next year or the next 2 years, I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it and spoken to enough guys to see whether they like it or not. I know I watched it with a couple OTAs that I went to and thought I was curious about it, but I don't know how it will translate to college. I think the college game right now is good. The kickoffs are good. I think that's one thing Drew Stevens has really improved on is his kickoff, his accuracy, his location, but then also the kick return game I think in college football is exciting. So you guys get to see it whenever Caden touches the ball. I think everyone's on the edge of their seat. So to me it's exciting. I don't know why you would change that as long as people are healthy and everyone's happy with what they see.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines University.
Tyler, great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Curious about Drew. One, what was your perspective of the one that he drove that fan in the head on the kickoff? And also, you talked about his maturity earlier in the season, but just how have you seen that kind of carry over into the later stages of the season?
I just need to know, is Joe from Des Moines okay? He's from Des Moines, right?
So.
Joe from Des Moines?
Yeah.
Man, he got blasted right in the face. And so all this stuff you see on social media and all those clips, like they tell the story. You need to see the coach's tape because it is clear. You can see him doing this, tracking the ball, and blasting right in the face, like right between his hands. But my initial reaction was, is he okay? Because I've seen guys get hit in the face before, but not at that velocity, not a civilian, if you will, who's not prepared for it. But I also feel like Drew going back to Drew, I think he's definitely more mature. He's definitely has improved in all areas. And I think the sky's the limit for him, and the goal is to be, again, more consistent. You look at his track record, where he's at thus far this year. I think he's 80%, 81, something like that, percent of the year, with his misses coming from 51, 56, 58. So those are not chip shots by any stretch of the imagination. However, I think Drew is a potential weapon for us, and I think he quietly continues to work and improve. And I think he's helped by a really good battery with a good snap from Luke and good hold from Ty and great protection from the offensive line and tight end. So I think the sky's the limit for him, and just keep pushing and see when they need us.
Last question, John.
John Stuckey, the Gazette again, in case you forgot.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So Jaden Harrell got some extended O-line defense last week. Obviously, you've seen a lot of him. I think he's third on the team in special team snaps. What's kind of really stood out to you from his time working with your units?
Yeah, I think Jaden's a young guy that continues to develop every play he gets and every game he gets to play in. And I think there's a lot of good football out there for him. It's never easy to go in a backup role and all of a sudden you're thrust into the starting Mike linebacker at Iowa. And I played linebacker at Iowa, so I know kind of coached linebacker at Iowa, so I know how the defense works. And one, that position is very critical to the defense. But then also you go from I'm playing 4 phases to now I'm playing 4 phases and I'm starting backer. That's a lot on a guy. It happened to me as a pro. Got thrust in a couple games. It's not easy to do it all. So kudos to him, and I think he'll learn, he'll continue to improve, continue to grow, and the sky's the limit for that kid.